Hi, Bee here, and welcome back to Read and Roam. The deeper we dive into our stories, the more excited I get about the story competition. Can you believe how far we've come since I saw that poster at the bookstore and just knew I had to enter? We've already brainstormed ideas, mapped out the beginning, middle, and end of our stories, and put everything together into a rough draft in my last video. Since then, I've gone back and made a few small edits, but now it's time for the next big step, revising to make our stories even better. Let's get started. You might remember revising from when we worked on our biome writing pieces. Revising is when we look at our writing as a whole to decide how it can be improved. It's all about making our writing clearer, more organized, and ready to share. One way to do this is to add details to different story elements. Today, let's focus on the setting. The setting is where and when a story takes place. Settings are introduced at the beginning of a story, but settings can change in the middle or end of a story too. You might have chosen somewhere real for the story to take place, like a city or a country, or you may have gone with something imaginary. Your story might happen in the past, present, or far into the future, just like mine. I set my story in a futuristic city, but what does a futuristic city look, feel, or sound like? Today, our goal is to bring this setting to life for our readers with more descriptive language. Do you remember when we learned about sensory details? Sensory details are descriptive words or phrases that use the five senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. They help readers imagine part of a story by creating vivid imagery or a clear and detailed picture in the reader's mind. For example, if your story takes place at the beach, you might describe the crashing of waves and seagulls squawking overhead, the salty smell of the ocean breeze, the warm sand beneath your feet, the sunlight sparkling on the water, or the taste of melting ice cream from a nearby boardwalk. Let's look at an example of sensory details in part of a story that takes place in a jungle. Austin stepped into the jungle and looked around. Leaves rustled as a breeze drifted through the trees. Parrots squawked loudly in the treetops. The air was warm, thick, and smelled like plants. Mud squished between his toes as he stepped over tangled roots. He had to find his way to the hidden waterfall before sunset. Wow, could you picture it? I feel like I was right there in the rainforest with Austin. Right away, the author gives us a sensory detail with the sound of leaves rustling. Can you find the other sensory details? Pause the video and underline the words or phrases that describe what else you might see, hear, smell, or feel in this jungle. The author includes another sound, parrots squawking in the treetops. We also get a sense of how this rainforest feels and smells with the warm, thick air that smells like plants. And there's another feeling when mud squishes between Austin's toes and he walks across tangled roots. I can imagine the cold, squishy mud on my feet and the uneven ground full of tangled roots. If the author had just told us we were in the jungle, we wouldn't have much to picture. But with these sensory details, the setting really comes to life. Let's give this a try with my story. Let's reread the beginning where I introduce the setting and see where we can add these types of details. There was a scientist named Laura who lived in a futuristic city. One day, she was working in her lab. She wanted to build a robot that could help clean up the city's trash and pollution. Laura was excited because she was going to show her invention to the mayor at a big event tomorrow. The setting seems kind of plain. All I wrote was, in a futuristic city. How could I bring it to life? What might Laura see, hear, or smell as she walks through this futuristic world? To help readers picture it, our details should match both what we know about cities and what we imagine the future could look like. Let me close my eyes and picture a city. When I closed my eyes, I pictured tall buildings and glowing lights, so maybe I could revise my sentence like this. There was a scientist named Laura who lived in a futuristic city with towering buildings stretching into the sky and glowing neon lights. That already feels more vivid. What else can I add? What do you picture when you imagine the future? Pause here and record at least one new detail about what you might see, hear, or smell in a futuristic city. Do you have some ideas? This is what I was picturing. Flying cars filling the city sky. That could totally be a reality one day. But since I already described what the city looks like, maybe this time I'll focus on a sound. How might these flying cars sound? How about this? There was a scientist named Laura who lived in a futuristic city with towering buildings stretching into the sky, glowing neon lights, and the constant hum of cars flying overhead. Do you see the difference? With just a few added details, we're not just telling the reader where Laura lives, we're helping them see it and hear it like they're right there with her. It's great to include a mix of sensory details, but that doesn't mean you need to use all 5 senses every time. You can start by brainstorming a bunch of ideas, like we did at the beginning of our story writing. Then, choose a few details that best fit your setting and writing. And don't worry, you don't have to fit all your details into one sentence like mine. You can also spread them out over a few shorter sentences, like we saw in the example about the jungle. I'm going to keep working on this a bit and experiment with different details to see which ones I like best. Now, it's your turn. Grab your rough draft, reread it carefully, and find the beginning part where you introduce your setting. Think about what someone might see, hear, smell, feel, or even taste in that place and start weaving those sensory details into your writing. Remember, you don't need to include all of the 5 senses. Select the ones that fit best. If your setting changes in the middle or end, try adding details there too. Next time, we'll revise with another story element, characters. Until then, remember, where there are words, there's a world to explore. See ya! Hey, hey.